Welcome back, coin hunters. Today, we're diving into the world of rare Washington quarter-dollar coins, hidden treasures that could be sitting in your pocket right now. These aren't just any quarters. We're talking about errors, overlooked mint marks, and special strikes that have sold for thousands. So grab your change and get ready, because what looks like an ordinary coin might just be your lucky jackpot. Let's jump in. Number 1. It was 1965. The Beatles ruled the radio, gas was just 31 cents a gallon, and in the world of coins, something happened that changed everything. The United States Mint made a bold move that year. They removed silver from our quarters. Up until 1964, every Washington quarter was 90% silver. But starting in 1965, to save costs, the mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. A total game-changer, but hidden within that massive change? A few coins slipped through the cracks, and those coins? They're worth a small fortune today. You see, during this transition, not every silver planchet got removed from the presses. A few silver blanks from 1964 were still hanging around, and somehow, a few 1965 dated quarters were accidentally struck on silver instead of the new clad metal. They shouldn't exist. But they do. Most people would never notice the difference. They feel the same, look the same. But under close inspection, or when weighed, these quarters tell a different story. A standard 1965 clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But the silver ones? They're slightly heavier, around 6.25 grams. That tiny difference has made some collectors rich, and left others kicking themselves for spending them without knowing. And that's not the only twist in this story, because a very small number of 1,965 quarters have surfaced in pristine condition, mint state coins with extraordinary sharpness, incredible luster, and virtually no marks from circulation. These are museum-worthy examples that have survived decades untouched. Some even show die errors, struck off-center, doubled images, or mismatched planchets. Every one of those mistakes, those imperfections, makes the coin even more desirable. But let's take a step back for a moment. Think about how many 1965 quarters were made. Over 1.8 billion. That's right, billion with a B. They're one of the most common coins in circulation, and yet, out of all those billions, only a handful have the traits collectors dream about: silver planchets, sharp strikes, rare errors, or untouched condition. The kind of coin you could hold up to the light and say, This one's different. And that's why collectors hunt them. That's why coin shops check every 1965 quarter they see. And that's why, when one shows up at auction, people pay attention, because one of these rare 1965 quarters sold for $16,800. And another? A near-perfect specimen went for $64,000, from pocket change to life-changing. So the next time you're going through your coins, don't skip past the 1965 quarter. Take a closer look. Weigh it. Examine the details. Because what seems ordinary might just be a forgotten treasure, and that, my friends, is what makes coin collecting magical. Number 2. The year was 1971, and the United States Mint was in the midst of an exciting era of change. The country was moving forward from the turbulence of the 1960s, and its currency was about to undergo a subtle transformation. But hidden within those changes was a coin that would become an enduring mystery for collectors and a true treasure for those lucky enough to find it: the 1971 Washington quarter. To understand the rarity and value of this coin, we first have to take a step back. 1971 marked the year when the U.S. Mint transitioned from a coinage system based heavily on silver to one that primarily used copper-nickel-clad coins. The minting process was evolving, and the Washington quarter was no exception. The 1971 quarter, struck at the Denver Mint, was made using the new copper-nickel blend, and for all intents and purposes, it was just another coin, nothing extraordinary about it. Or so most people thought. As time went on, however, collectors began to notice something unusual. A very small number of 1971 quarters were minted with strange, almost imperceptible errors. These coins were not only made with unusual characteristics, but some were struck with deeper, sharper details than most others. A few exhibited what could be described as a unique dome in the design, a feature that made the coin look unlike any other quarter produced that year. But perhaps the most astonishing discovery was that a handful of 1971 D Washington quarters were produced with a double die reverse, a dramatic error that caused the reverse side of the coin to display a noticeable duplication of lettering. This error is what truly sets the 1971 D quarter apart from the masses. It's not just rare, it's a piece of numismatic history. So, why does this coin matter to collectors, and why is it worth so much money? It all comes down to one simple fact: rarity. The 1971 D quarter, with its subtle but unique errors, has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. Unlike other quarters produced in the same year, which are plentiful and easy to find, this particular coin, especially one in near-perfect condition, has become a prized possession for those who appreciate the artistry and history of U.S. currency. In mint state, especially in grades like MS-67 and MS-68, these coins can command an incredible price at auction. Even in lower grades, a well-preserved 1971 D Washington quarter can still bring in thousands of dollars. But when you're talking about an example with a double die error or one in a flawless grade, the value skyrockets. In fact, some of the finest examples of the 1971 D quarter have sold for as much as $5,000, and even up to $60,000, depending on the grade and condition of the coin. Think about it. What began as a simple coin, minted with a slight flaw or unique feature, is now a collector's dream. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just getting started in the world of coin collecting, the 1971 D Washington quarter is one that shouldn't be overlooked. So the next time you're going through your change, remember to take a moment to look at the 1971 D quarter. What may seem like just another piece of pocket change could be a rare gem waiting to make you thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. It's a reminder that in the world of coins, value can sometimes be hidden in plain sight, and a little knowledge and careful attention can turn a simple coin into a small fortune. Coins like the 1971 D Washington quarter remind us that in the world of numismatics, the past is always just around the corner, waiting to be rediscovered. Number 3. Flipping through your pocket change and coming across a 1979 Washington quarter. At first glance, it seems ordinary, just another coin that's been in circulation for decades. But hold on. That little silver-toned piece might just be hiding one of the most exciting and rare secrets in U.S. coinage. A secret that could turn what looks like a common quarter into a small fortune. The 1979 Washington quarter is one of those fascinating coins that collectors can't get enough of, not because it's old, but because of what can be hiding in plain sight. And no, we're not talking about silver content. Quarters from this year weren't made of silver. But what they are made of, and how they were made, can make all the difference. First, let's go back to 1979, a time of inflation, disco, and dramatic shifts in U.S. currency production. The mint was producing millions of quarters to meet demand. 3 different mints were pumping them out: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While most of these coins look identical to the untrained eye, some came out with shocking errors and unique features. And it's these rare anomalies that coin collectors are constantly searching for. One such variety is known as the double die. This happens when a coin is struck more than once with a slightly shifted die, causing a shadow-like doubling effect, especially noticeable in the lettering or numbers. On the 1979 Washington quarter, some of the most valuable examples show doubling on the word Liberty, or the date 1979. The letters look thicker, and when viewed under magnification, you can clearly see the doubling, a dead giveaway that you're holding something special. Another feature to look for? The mint marks. While most 1979 quarters struck in San Francisco were proofs and not intended for circulation, a few made their way into the hands of the public. These proofs, especially the ones with clear and sharp S mint marks, were struck with greater care and detail. But here's the kicker: some 1979 S-proof quarters come with what's known as a Type 1 or Type 2 mint mark. Type 1 has a blobby, less defined S, while Type 2 has a much clearer and crisper S. The Type 2 is significantly rarer, and collectors go wild over it. Then there's the curious case of the off-center strike. If you ever find a 1979 quarter where the image is not perfectly centered, where part of Washington's head or the lettering is missing, that's not a damaged coin. That's a striking error. And depending on how far off-center it is, it could be extremely valuable. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more attention it draws from serious numismatists. There are even known cases of 1979 quarters struck on the wrong planchets, basically the metal discs used for other coins. Some were mistakenly struck on planchets meant for nickels, or even foreign coins. These rare errors make the coin look thinner, smaller, or sometimes even a different color altogether. If you ever find a 1979 quarter that doesn't feel quite right, trust your instincts. It might be worth more than you think. What also makes these coins so desirable is that they're still out there, hiding in change jars, coin rolls, or forgotten collections in attics. Unlike coins that are centuries old and locked away in museums or private safes, the 1979 Washington quarter still pops up from time to time. And when it does, especially with the right error or variation, it can set off a collector frenzy. So, next time you get change at the grocery store, or you're sorting through an old drawer of coins, don't overlook the quarters. Take a closer look at any 1979s you come across. Look at the date. Inspect the letters. Examine the mint mark. That ordinary-looking quarter might not be ordinary at all, because the rarest 1979 Washington quarters have been sold for as much as $12,000 to $62,000. Keep your eyes sharp. You never know when history, and a little treasure, might land in your hand. Number 4. There's something thrilling about the idea that a simple coin, the kind you might toss in a tip jar or leave under the couch cushions, could be worth thousands of dollars. And when it comes to the 1991 D Washington quarter, that thrill is very real. At first glance, this coin doesn't look like anything special. Just another quarter minted in Denver during the early 90s. It's got the familiar face of George Washington on the front, the proud bald eagle on the back, and the copper-nickel shine we've come to expect from modern circulating coins. But underneath that ordinary surface lies a world of numismatic surprises, ones that only a sharp eye and a little bit of knowledge can uncover. The Denver Mint struck millions of these quarters in 1991. That means most of them are common, circulated, worn, and worth only their face value. But not all. A very small number of 1991 D quarters were struck with unusual errors or conditions that make them highly sought after by collectors today. One of the first things experienced collectors look for is a striking error, an imperfection in the minting process that results in something visibly different on the coin. With the 1991 D quarter, some of the rarest examples show off-center strikes. This means the coin wasn't properly aligned in the press when it was struck, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted dramatically. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. Then there's the elusive double-die variety. These are quarters that show clear signs of doubling in areas like the word Liberty, the date 1991, or even the phrase In God We Trust. You don't need to be an expert to spot it, just look closely. If the letters or numbers appear to have a shadow or doubled outline, you might be holding a true rarity. Another rare and valuable variety includes coins struck on the wrong metal. Known as wrong planchet errors, these coins were mistakenly struck on metal blanks meant for other denominations, like nickels or even foreign coins. These errors result in coins that are slightly lighter, thinner, or different in color than your average quarter. Some collectors have even reported finding 1991 D quarters that look more silvery or dull than they should. If the weight is off or the rim doesn't look right, it might be time to break out a scale, or better yet, have it checked by a professional grader. But errors aren't the only thing that make a 1991 D quarter valuable. Condition plays a huge role too. A coin that's been sitting in a drawer for years might be dirty or scratched, but if you happen to find one that looks sharp and clean, especially one with a brilliant uncirculated or mint state surface, it could be worth far more than 25 cents. Quarters graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services are extremely scarce, and collectors will pay big money for them to complete high-grade sets. There's also the appeal of rarity within the mint itself. Even though the Denver Mint produced a large number of these coins, the survival rate of pristine examples is very low. Most went straight into circulation and picked up nicks, scratches, and wear. But a few, just a few, were set aside, forgotten, or stored in rolls, never seeing the harsh wear of pockets and vending machines. These are the coins collectors dream of finding, so next time you're digging through loose change, don't dismiss the 1991 D Washington quarter. Look closely. Turn it over. Check the edges. Study the details. It could be just another quarter, or it could be something extraordinary. A small piece of minting history that defied the odds and slipped into circulation with a hidden flaw or in near-perfect condition, because some of the rarest and most valuable 1991 D Washington quarters have been sold for as much as $4,200 to $37,000. That's a lot of money for a coin most people don't even bother to notice. But for those who know what to look for, it's a treasure waiting to be discovered. Keep hunting, you never know what might be in your pocket. Number 5. You might want to take a second look at that quarter rattling around in your change jar, especially if it's dated 1982 and carries a small D just below George Washington's neck. Because what looks like an ordinary coin might actually be one of the most underrated treasures in modern American coinage. The 1982 D Washington quarter was born in a year of economic pressure, budget cuts, and rapid changes at the U.S. Mint. That year, the Mint reduced coin production, skipped making mint sets for collectors, and made some surprising choices that, years later, have collectors hunting for hidden gems. Now let's talk about what makes the 1982 D quarter stand out from the millions of other coins floating around. First, the Denver Mint struck fewer quarters than usual that year, and without the usual polished perfection of previous years. Most coins from 1982 show signs of rushed production, with weak strikes, dull finishes, and poor detail. But that's exactly why a high-quality example from this year is so rare, and so valuable. The real magic lies in a combination of scarcity and condition. Because the U.S. Mint didn't release uncirculated coin sets in 1982, collectors had no official way to get fresh, mint-state coins. That means most 1982 D quarters went straight into circulation, picked up scratches, wore down quickly, and were used like any regular change. Finding one today in pristine condition, especially with full detail and a bright, original luster, is like finding a needle in a haystack, but that's just the beginning. Among the surviving 1982 D quarters, a few exhibit striking errors that make them even more desirable. Some coins were minted on slightly undersized planchets, giving them thinner rims or an odd appearance. Others show die cracks, where the coin's surface has small raised lines caused by stress fractures in the die. And then there are off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting. These flaws, far from being defects, are golden tickets for collectors. There's also the mystery of the no mint set year. Without official sets to draw from, the few coins that were preserved in mint state came from bank rolls, change hoards, or lucky finds by sharp-eyed collectors. As a result, 1982 D quarters in top condition have become incredibly scarce on the market. And the higher the grade, the more intense the demand. Another interesting twist? The Denver Mint's coins from this year are known for having weaker strikes than their Philadelphia counterparts. That makes any 1982 D quarter with full, crisp detail, especially in Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers, or the word, Liberty, a standout rarity. If your coin has a sharp, well-defined design, it's worth paying serious attention to. Let's not forget about weight. The 1982 D quarter, like all quarters made after 1965, was struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition. But some coins may have slight weight variations due to planchet errors or incomplete bonding of the layers. If your quarter feels lighter or heavier than usual, it could be worth having it weighed on a precise scale. Even the tiniest variation can point to something valuable. What makes this coin so exciting is that it's still out there, often overlooked, passed from hand to hand, or stashed away in old coin jars. Unlike coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, you don't need a time machine or deep pockets to find one. You just need patience, a good eye, and a little knowledge, so if you ever come across a 1982 D Washington quarter, don't brush it off. Take a close look at the surface. Check for sharpness in the design. Look for any minting flaws. Because while most of these coins are just pocket change, a small number are worth far more than their face value. In fact, some rare 1982 D Washington quarters have sold for as much as $5,275 to $48,000. Not bad for a coin that most people never give a second glance. So keep checking your quarters, because that next one you find might just change everything.